Big Ten preview. The conference looking for a three-peat right now. How about that?
Well, they're primed, and there's a number of teams that are looking forward to hoisting the trophy, but one in particular has a returning quarterback. Only 5 returning quarterbacks in the league.
You ready to go? You're just ready to put a hand in the dirt.
Let's do it, baby. I think this is a great opportunity for the Big Ten to possibly do a three-peat, right? Something that hasn't been done in quite a long time, but we're starting to see a little bit more parity, so we think we know who the favorites are, but my guess is by the time this thing's over, the poker table is going to be flipped.
And this year, what do you say the conference champion is the one that wins the national championship? Last year, it was just weird. That was just weird.
That was depth.
Big Ten champ? No. National champ? Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I'm with you, but they still count as a championship, even though you lose for the 4th straight year to your arch rival. I'm with you, dude. I think some others are going to step up their game this year. I'm looking where Minnesota sits. Their defense over the last 4 or 5 years, even though they've changed defensive coordinators, they still have been one of the best in the league. Iowa, I think they jump into this conversation as well. SC, they will be better than they were last year, finishing games that they couldn't a season ago.
Well, let's see if we mention all 18 teams in this hour together. But let's start with the lead dogs right now.
That's a good start.
Focusing
Congratulations to Barry Odom and Purdue.
BJ's got 3 on the board. But we are kicking things off with the team that won the national title last season. Ohio State enters 2025 with heightened expectations now after a run of redemption in the college football playoff. But Ryan Day says now it's back to square one.
The 9th national championship in Ohio State history, beating Notre Dame tonight, 34-23.
You're not defending it because they ain't going to take it away. It's just a new year, and now we just have to go attack this season with a new group of guys.
Jeremiah Smith, right side, one-handed into the end zone.
Pretty good feeling knowing that we, won a national championship, but it's on to a new year and, new team. So we're just ready for the season to start.
There's some trouble, and down goes Lausch. Sonny Styles.
Switch our mindset, like, hey, we're gonna, set the tone this year. This is our own journey. It's a new identity, new team. We're not gonna live off last year's team.
Every year is a different journey. That's the fun part of being a coach. You could never script what happened last year, right? So, we're not going to script what happens this year.
Well, it wasn't scripted, but it was a fairy tale ending for the Buckeyes, and now they have a chance to repeat. Aaron alluded to this, something only 3 other Big Ten schools have ever done, and not since the mid-'60s when Michigan State accomplished the feat. But, Rick, they have reloaded
Bubba Smith
once again, even though so many guys are now onto the NFL.
Ohio State is enjoying the afterglow, right? This is still a, kind of rose-colored glasses as they look towards this season. They've got great players. J.J. Smith on offense, Caleb Downs on defense are both headliners. A number of everybody's worried about the quarterback position in terms of how quickly will they assimilate the Ryan Day offense, Brian Hartline offense. But Ohio State's poised. They don't rebuild, they reload. And that's exactly what we're going to see this year.
Yeah, but they're moving from the hunter to the hunted. That's a whole new set of problems.
That's not new for Ohio State.
It's not new, but when you have the target on your back and you've got complacency and human nature that can set in, it does become a little bit different of a set of challenges than what they had a year ago. They've got 2 brand new coordinators that they need to break in. They've got a brand new quarterback they're going to need to break in. Their offensive line, which really became a strength after the injuries last year, was decimated. So a lot of new faces there. And that NFL talent on the defensive side of the ball, it's a much different set of circumstances this year. Honestly, they remind me of what Michigan had to go through last year, figuring out all those pieces early in the season. But you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've earned that, but it's not going to be an easy road for them. And I think it's going to be challenging early till they can find a.
He kind of came full circle. I mean, he started off negative Nelly and then kind of say they've earned the.
I'm laying out the case. It's going to be tough for Ohio State.
And I hope that first game is tough for them. But you're correct. This is Ohio State. They have a cupboard stacked with 4 and 5 stars, and probably more 5 stars than anyone on the planet right now. And there may be some growing pains, especially in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, and you got 2 new coordinators coming in. We remember what happened to that Silver Bullet defense once Jim Knowles took over that first year. They were giving up huge plays, big chunk plays. Of course, they corrected that, and they hoisted the hardware last season. But I think they'll be in the mix once again.
And Knowles went to Penn State.
Yeah, you got that. That's sort of the blue bloods of college football. that can recover from certain things. You can lose your quarterback, you can lose your running backs, you can lose your offensive coordinator, you can lose your defensive coordinator and still recover because you have so much talent. And Ohio State's a great example of that. I really want to see how Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia off the field are a difference for this team. Because the talent, are you worried about the new quarterback? It's going to be fine. Are you worried about the running back? They're going to be good. But if they miss anything, it might be the coordinators.
One thing that never changes there are the expectations.
No.
Win or it's just not a successful year.
Well, you satisfy those expectations, you actually inflame them now.
Yes, you
So
do.
get ready. Get ready for more fun there. But perhaps the Buckeyes' biggest threat this season could be Penn State, which checked in at number 2 in the preseason AP poll, highest of any Big Ten school. With Rhule returning under center, surrounded by a more talented supporting cast now, James Franklin knows opportunity is knocking.
We've been one of the most consistent programs in college football over the last 3 years. We're a play or a quarter or a drive away from playing for the national championship last year. Got a ton of those guys back, so we got a tremendous opportunity to have a special season.
It really excites me because I know the opportunity that we do have, and I don't think there's another coach in America that deserves it more than Coach Franklin. With everything that he's been through in his career, no matter who we're playing or where we're playing, we're going to put our best foot forward and compete with everything we got and leave it all on the field.
I think it's our best personnel since I've been here. Now we got to go do it.
Talking about expectations, I mean, James Franklin's putting the pressure on himself saying that, and it'll be there anyway. Coming off the most wins in a 3-year span since the mid-90s there. They win a ton of games, but usually not the absolutely biggest games. They are right for it, though, this season, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the formula. They've got the things there. I mean, with Rhule coming back at quarterback, I believe that's a hell of an advantage when you look at the rest of the conference at quarterback. And he can be a real difference maker if he keeps getting better the way he does. On the defensive side of the ball, you look at them the last couple of years and the people they've put into the league. It's been impressive. And they're returning 7 starters from last year's defense. That's bad news for the rest of this conference on the offensive side.
This is the best team that James Franklin's ever had. I mean, you look at this roster top to bottom in depth at almost every position. He strategically went out and used free agency to fill the wide receiver gap. They've got some young tight ends that are going to make people not necessarily forget about Tyler Warren, but very much soften that blow, both in the receiving side and being able to run the football. The one question mark with this team is going to be depth along the defensive line. They're running from a 4-3 to a 4-2-5. They have some very talented younger players that are going to have to get experience early on, particularly stopping the run. But, man, if they could do that, I was at practice recently. They looked the part. This team can absolutely win the national championship.
It's going to be about the new concepts, the new schemes Jim Knowles brings in. Now, is he adjusting or are they having to adjust him? You just mentioned you're transitioning to a 4-2-5 defense now. How quickly can they get up to speed? I also referenced Jim Knowles' first year at Ohio State. It didn't go as advertised. They struggled in that new scheme. So how quickly can they congeal on the defensive side of the ball? That's what I'm watching. And Rhule, because in that championship or semifinal game versus Notre Dame, he didn't fare too well.
What did Elvis sing? It's now or never. This is absolutely their spot. They have a great schedule. Very little challenge in the non-conference. Buys before the Oregon game, which will be a whiteout at Beaver Stadium, and then a bye before they go on the road to Columbus. This sets up as well as it can set up. It's Aller. Aller has to deliver. He's got 2,000-yard type backs, right? Singleton and Allen. He's got some new toys at receiver, and namely the kid from Syracuse, Pena. This is about Drew Aller. He was a 66% passer last year. He dripped to like 55% in the playoffs. He's got to play big in the big games. If he does, Penn State can hoist it.
Otherwise, suspicious minds will be.
They're caught in a trap.
You betcha. The defending conference champs from Oregon had a fantastic debut season in the Big Ten, starting 13-0 for the first time in program history and leading the league in total offense. But the Ducks will have some changes on that side of the ball, notably Dillon Gabriel, who's off to the NFL after a marvelous season in Eugene that saw him finish as a Heisman finalist. What are your outlooks for the Ducks this time around, Rick?
Well, this is the first time Dan Lanning's going to play with a quarterback that doesn't have 5 or 6 years under his belt, right? Bo Nix 2 years ago, Dillon Gabriel last year. both are at the top of the heap in terms of games started in the history of college football. So that's a new place to start. But here's what they don't get enough credit for, because we study the recruiting in other places in the country. They're one of the best recruiting schools in the country. They get players from all over, and they have reloaded as well. And I think Dante Moore, their quarterback, has enough experience in the brief stint he had at UCLA to merit a lot of optimism for Duck fans and go along with all these other kids, namely this wide receiver DeCorian Moore. I think the Ducks are going to be right back in the thick of things, and we start talking playoffs in December.
Coach Stein has done a great job with these quarterbacks, these transfers, and I think you're correct with Dante Moore. He has everything you want as far as the physical traits. I mean, the ball just jumps out of his hand. I love what's coming back on the defense. You saw Bryce Betcher there, linebacker, former walk-on. That dude will run through any wall you put in front of him. You don't even have to ask him twice or motivate him. He just likes running into things. And
you're kind of guy.
But yes, exactly.
You know anybody like that?
One or two. Mateo Uiagalelei, 9.5 sacks a year ago, third in the Big Ten. He returns to this defense as well. I think they hold up everything until Dante Moore and that offense can find a rhythm.
Yeah, the foundation, I think, of the Ducks, just from looking at them from the outside in, Dan Lanning came from UGA, and he helped Kirby Smart lay the foundation that was those national championships because of the recruiting the way they did. And the flashy part of the recruiting wasn't the quarterbacks, wasn't the running backs. It was that defensive line. It was the offensive line. It was the linebackers and safeties, those type of players that they got in there. Oregon, he's replicated that at the Ducks. That's why if you're a Duck fan, you should be incredibly motivated and very, very excited about this season.
Yeah, the model that he's using, that Georgia uses, that Ohio State's uses, Clemson's now using, is to major in recruiting and minor in the portal. So he's gone out and got some great free agents to fill positions of needs. Isaiah World's an offensive lineman he got from Nevada. Safety Dylan Thieneman comes over from Purdue. I know we've had a lot of fun for him. I really love this young man's upside. You put the spotlight on him yourself. I love it. I love this kid's going to be good. What's different about Dante Moore at the quarterback position is the lack of experience. You think about the last two starters that Oregon had with a quarterback under center, Will Stein, who's a fabulous play caller. These guys literally broke the record for the amount of starts that they had. It's going to be new territory for Dante Moore.
They were 25, 26 years old. I mean,
there's no question. COVID and the 6th year and all that stuff. Yeah. So Oregon's going to benefit from all the attention is on whether or not Ohio State can repeat, or it's college football championship or bust for Penn State. So do not count the Ducks out. They'll be a factor late.
Well, it was that fork in the road against the Buckeyes that shocked them and put the end of their season. So they come back hungry. We know that for sure. And so from the team that won the Big Ten in 2024 to the one that won it all in 2023, Michigan had its ups and downs last season in the first year under Sharon Moore after a terrific 3-year stretch that included a national title. Are the Wolverines now ready to return to form this season, BJ? Major recruit at quarterback.
Woo! Yeah, we're going to see if Mr. Underwood can come in and he can elevate the play at that position. That is going to be difficult and a tall task for a freshman quarterback at such a historic program. And considering what the season they're off of, now you're going to lay all that responsibility on this young man. It's going to take a total team effort. Defensively, they got some nice pieces returning on that side of the ball. Offensively, I mean, when your passing game is there with the academies, that ain't good. And that's no knock on the academy. They know they don't pass. Well, maybe they do. But, that was just horrid to watch a season ago. I think with Justice Haynes coming over at running back, they'll still continue to lean on the running game as Michigan has always done.
Okay. Michigan fans are excited and for good reason because they can't possibly be worse offensively than they were last year. Fellas, they did not have a single pass over 40 yards. None. Zero. Zilch. So regardless of how Bryce Underwood plays, that's going to be able to change. They're going to have a running game that's going to be featured. The offensive line will be a little bit better. And that defense, they've been overlooked. I know some players left that were very high-round draft picks last year. Michigan has a chance to have the best front seven in all of college football. Do not sleep on them. That's going to keep them in a lot of games. I think Sharon Moore's team takes a step forward this season.
It'll be fun to watch from the outside in. Because if they can get back to talking about football, if they can get back to where everything you hear about Michigan is just about what happens on the field. And with all the stuff that went on last year there, the news off the field, after Harbaugh left and Sharon Moore came in, and this is going to happen to this guy, and this is going to happen to this guy, it's been a nightmare for that squad. So if you're Sharon Moore, you want to focus your team on one thing, just football. Let the guys in the athletic department take care of everything else, and we're going to worry about the game.
They finished the season with wins at Ohio State and then a bowl game against Alabama. So that gives Maize and Blue fans all kinds of optimism coming in. Bryce Underwood is another huge piece of optimism, given the fact that he's so heralded as a high school player. He grew up in the state, stays in place there in Michigan, and they've got great hopes for him. 5.4 yards per attempt. That's what they average passing the ball. Chip Lindsey has to get that on track to go along with the running game. They've got, as you mentioned, the great defense. Just get out of the blocks, being able to throw the ball down the field.
There you go. So a lot of room for improvement for Michigan. And look, you have all the recruits, you have the transfer portal, you have all these things that we're trying to figure out as you look ahead to a new season. And so for more on the Big Ten's best, we want to welcome in Mackenzie Brooks, who's been crunching the numbers. You do this all year long, all sports, CBS Sports HQ. But Mackenzie is here to tell us which teams have the best chance to make the CFP, and Big Ten's heavily featured here.
Yeah, as an SEC girl, I'm punching air telling you all about this here, but it is what it is. Look, the thing about the Big Ten this year is that they only play 3 non-conference games, so they have a lot more separation. You're going to see a lot more parity in the SEC and other conferences. So Ohio State, we like the most. We like the most to make it to the Big Ten championship because the insurance they have on their schedule. Texas as a non-conference game. They have some really hard road games, and we think they're going to win them all, but it's going to look good on their resume. Penn State, very similar situation as well. Of course, Oregon, your big 3, we're always going to like the best. Notre Dame, we give such a high chance because we like them against Miami so much. We do not like Miami, haven't been high on them. I will say, if they do lose to Miami, that 68 goes to a 35 just by essentially when the start of the season is. And as far as Texas as well, again, we just think they have the best chance to make the SEC championship. They have a favorable schedule to do it. We don't have to talk about Arch Manning all day long. But if there is, outside of the big 3, if one of these guys crumble in the Big Ten, Michigan has the most favorable shot here. We give them an 8.8 projection, so close to 9 wins. They have relatively a favorable enough schedule that they could sneak into that Big Ten championship if you don't see that big 3 come out with 10 wins. It's going to be a lot of the Spider-Man meme. Everyone's looking at each other. Everyone's got 10 wins. If that's not the case, Michigan does have the best chance next.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of Michigan fans would probably take 34% chance right now at an at-large spot. Yep. All right. More later?
More later.
More later. All right. Very good.
We're about to work on that Longhorn logo. What am I like?
You didn't like that?
No? Okay. Well, we'll talk.
These are the details that matter most to Captain Bismol over here.
A historic season for Indiana, setting a program record for wins en route to a berth in the college football playoff. And while the Hoosiers lost Curtis Rourke under center, they replaced him with former Cal QB Fernando Mendoza through the portal. Oh!
Upgrade.
Can Kurt Cignetti's team duplicate last year's overall success? Rick?
Listen, they'll have the confidence to do so because there's no one more confident than Kurt Cignetti, and he'll believe that this is all possible. The problem is they were plus 15 in turnovers. To do that 2 years in a row, very, very difficult.
Well, Mendoza coming in, I'm going to say it again. Upgrade. This guy looked phenomenal at times there at Cal, and I think he continues to improve. And on the defensive side, Aiden Fisher, the linebacker, my boy Mikael Kamara on that defensive line, they now have a foundation, didn't have to bring in as many transfer kids this season. We're going to find out if Cignetti's the master of his method.
Yes, not sneaking up on anybody this time around. And then there's Illinois, which you take this one off, BJ, which tied a program record with 10 wins of its own last year, notching 4 ranked wins in the process, more than the previous 16 season combined. Beat South Carolina in the bowl game. Remember Bielema getting into it with Beamer on the sideline. Luke Altmaier returning among a ton of starters back. A lot of optimism, Aaron, for the Illini right now.
Yeah, those starters, 17 off of a 10-win team. So the question that Illini fans want is, can they take the next step? I really feel like this team is built to have the sort of season that comes onto the scene like Indiana did. Now, it won't be a secret because we know what they got going on, and it's admittedly a little bit more difficult schedule. But what we're seeing in the playoff era are teams that have experience, that have depth, that has a good culture where people want to stay to make a push, tend to fare well. Illinois very well will be that team this season in the Big Ten.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into having a really good team, especially one that was good the year before and being able to back that up. Having an experienced quarterback, obviously very, very important, and they've got that with Luke Altmaier that can throw the ball extremely well, can run the ball if demanded. The one thing they have in their little back pocket, let's say, is those 5 comebacks in the fourth quarter last year. That's something that is invaluable. Especially beginning of the year, you get in a tough game. Maybe you're playing somebody that you think you should beat, but maybe you shouldn't. Gets into the fourth quarter, you can go and you can just draw back on that.
Breeds confidence.
Yeah, it came down to that last play against Rutgers after the field goal was short and the timeout Rutgers had called in one of the plays of the year in college football. But yeah, whole staff's back. He was smirking about getting a few transfers from Wisconsin, too, as well, was Coach Bielema. All right, so meanwhile, there are a couple teams that could be in line for breakout seasons this year. USC's definitely got it built up in them. Saw their offense take a step back in year 3 under Lincoln Riley. The defensive side improved greatly, but is this the year he turns things around with the Trojans, Rick?
Well, that's certainly the hope in Los Angeles. Lincoln Riley, came there with so much fanfare. One of the top coaches in the country, at least from the salary standpoint. Now he's got to deliver. And to not be ranked in the top 25 is an alarming thing to those Trojan fans that are looking forward to better things. Jaden Maiava has got to come through. He was less than a 60% passer. But really where they have to really focus is to run the football. They've fallen off in rushing productivity since he left Oklahoma. He needs to get more balance in that offense.
And the good news there, Rick, is that Zach Hanson, their offensive line coach, former player, all-conference in the Big 12 of Kansas State, is their line coach. And visiting them at practice and fall camp, there's a physicality there that you and I both saw at the end of the Penn State game, at the end of the Michigan game. Getting away from the run game really hurt them with all those fourth-quarter losses that they had. They really seem to be addressing that. Practice was physical, live tackling to the ground 2 or 3 periods per day. These are new things that I think Lincoln Riley is opening up to. I would not be surprised, and I would expect that shows up and translates onto the field.
Yeah, we witnessed a couple of those fourth quarters in person. Over at Nebraska, another sleeping giant here. Matt Rhule's proven he can turn a program around. It usually happens right about now for him. Temple and Baylor saw breakouts in year 3 of Rhule's rule. Could something similar be on the horizon in Lincoln, BJ?
Yes, you're right. Year 3, that's when you usually see the success rear its head for Matt Rhule and his squad. You look at Dylan Raiola, he started off hot, as young players tend to do, regress somewhat middle to late in that football season. Defensively, I think they've got some holes to fill on the D-line. I love the way they flow the linebacker position. Now, you got Raiola going back to him saying he thinks his offensive line could be a Joe Moore Award contender.
Okay.
Woo, that's big talk. Let's see if they can live up to it.
Well, the line will have to back that up, and so will Dylan Raiola when it comes to the way he's got to play, because it's going to be really, really important. But you think back to the Nebraska teams of old. When Nebraska was worth it, it was because they were so talented, they recruited so well, and especially at the line of scrimmage. And that was a thing that for a long time has been missing. It's been missing since they came to the Big Ten. They were in the Big 12 last time they were physical.
Well, they got to the postseason last year, at least, getting to a bowl game.
Baby step.
And winning it. Look, 18 teams in this conference, lots of possibilities. Each of you get one more team we haven't touched on here that we need to be watching, beyond those that we've mentioned. Rick, you get first pick.
I'll take the Washington Huskies. I got to go watch them practice this summer. Jed Fish has done a nice job building a team back, and his catalyst is that guy right there, Damon Williams, their quarterback. He was a 78% passer last year, guys. Had a huge Sun Bowl, 26 of 32 for well over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. If he gets untracked, they find a couple of bellwether receivers, this can be a magic year.
Yeah, for this conference to take the next step, the middle class really has to step up, and I'm expecting Minnesota to have a chance to be able to do that. We know they're going to be able to score points, run the football, but defense is something that BJ, I know, is excited about and mentioned earlier. Raising the floor is really what they're focused on doing, and I think PJ Fleck and his team have a chance to do it.
Well, if you're Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, you've got to have a goal, at least short term. You want to win your conference conference, yeah, blah, blah, blah. If you want to finish on top of that second tier in the Big Ten, it's going to start with a record of about 8 or 9 wins. That's your goal, and that's where they should finish.
Unbelievable schedule for them.
Bama, at Bama. How about Rutgers? 7 wins a season ago. They looked the part. They look like a Big Ten team, but this schedule this year, they got Ohio State, they have Penn State, and they have Oregon, all the big boys that won at least 13 games a season ago. We'll see if they can hold up to all that physicality this
like
year.
Their old Big Ten East schedule.
Plus, so you're
Oregon.
saying they'll be chopping a lot of wood.
Lots of wood to chop.
A lot of wood being chopped. Are there any wood chips?
Sharpen that axe. And all the other things we could think of.
Keep it out of your foot.
Chopping.
Yes.